In this video, we're going to talk about renting versus owning a home and what you should do. I discuss investment strategy with friends and families, and often the topic comes to whether you should own or rent a home. And one of the reasons why this comes on the topic of discussion, as a topic of discussion so often, is because in 2018, I sold our home and get the equity out and then invest in real estate. With that money, I made enough in positive cash flow with these real estate investment that I was able to quit my job and focus entirely on real estate investing and helping other people do the same. Homeownership, for some reason, is emotional. What happens with when emotions get in the way is that the numbers get out the window, the facts get out the window. So we don't calculate what is the return or what is better in terms of numbers between owning a home and basically renting. And I think it is emotional also because we've been kind of brainwashed with this American dream. Homeownership is part of the American dream, and along with a car, 2 kids, and a dog, to come with all that. But when you look at millennials, that are in the process of starting a family, they have a huge student debt that they have to deal with. And they've witnessed also the damage of the financial crisis of 2008. So they're a little bit more careful about owning a home. And those millennials who are trying to buy a home often have to play catch up. If you're in a hot market like San Francisco, I hear often that, millennials they have a down payment, they try to buy a house, they put an offer, and it's above asking, and they don't have enough down payment for the house anymore. So then they go back to the drawing board, keep saving a little bit more, and then then they have a little bit more down payment. Then they go back and try to buy another property, and then again the price is too high now. They don't have enough down payment again. So they play this this catch-up game of down payment and house prices. Don't get me wrong, I love real estate and I invest in real estate, as you know. So it's not that I'm against real estate. I just want to make sure that people look at the numbers and decide for themselves if it's more profitable for them to own a home versus renting. When I did the calculation for myself, it was much better for me to rent a home than to have home ownership. I was able to to achieve financial freedom with my rental investments, and something that I would still being, and what other people in my age, they're still working full time and then living paycheck to paycheck and then paying the mortgage. So here are some of the benefits that I hear often people equate to home ownership, why they like home ownership so much. Number one is paying a mortgage really forces you into saving and stuff like that. Well, I don't want to save, I want to invest. So for me, I don't need somebody to force me into saving. But mortgage pay down is great, but really, your return on that mortgage payment is really the interest of the mortgage, which at the time of this recording, it's pretty low, 3 to 4%. I can find a return that's better than that. Another one is about you have stable housing costs, compared to rent where it increases every year. So I think that's true that the mortgage payment is the same, but your costs increase every year. You have higher property taxes every year, even though they're capped here in California. I don't know for how long. The insurance is going to go up, utilities are going to up, and then the people that, if you have like a gardener and stuff like that, all the maintenance is also going to go up. If you rent, yes, at the end of the year, there is an opportunity to, for the landlord to increase the rent. The other side of it, the hidden cost of home ownership is really in the repairs and maintenance. If I'm a tenant, I don't have to worry about that. If the hot water tank breaks, I call the landlord, they fix the hot water tank. If something else breaks, they fix it. If the roof needs to be replaced, I don't have to worry about finding $20,000 to repair the roof. So this is the advantage of renting, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But on the home ownership piece of it, what happens is that I don't know what's going to break. It may look like it's stable, but I may have all kinds of other expenses. In fact, when I owned the house in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, I had to change the garage door, $500. I had to change the hot water tank twice. That was I think it was close to $1,000. We had to change the furnace. We didn't even have air conditioning. We had to fix the hot tub, remove the hot tub. We had to remove large trees that we had in the backyard, and that was costing a few $1,000s a piece to get rid of those trees. So these are all hidden costs that people are not really taking into account when they have a house compared to rental. Another one is that number 3 is really about not they don't want to live in an apartment, so they prefer to live in a house. You don't have to rent an apartment if you don't want to. I rent a home. I haven't lived in an apartment in a very, very long time. So you don't have to rent an apartment. You can rent a home. Then they talk about home ownership tax breaks. So they talk about state and local tax that you can basically get rid of, the property taxes that can be tax deductible. All that kind of stuff are deductible. So this is great, and this is true. Another one that they talk about is the capital gains exemption, like $250 for an individual, $500,000 capital gains exemption. That's true, but then a lot of these people, they're not thinking about selling their home ever. They don't want. So if homeownership is about owning your home forever until retirement, then that $500,000 in capital gains exemption is not. It's irrelevant. It's kind of like it's just irrelevant. At retirement, you own your own home and you don't have to pay the mortgage anymore. Well, yeah, you don't have to pay the mortgage anymore, but there's 2 components to that. You still have to pay property taxes, and the property taxes continue to increase. Right now here in California, it is capped, but there's more and more pressure on having these property taxes increase with the market. So removing that cap. So when that happens, it's going to be dramatic. The other thing is you still have to pay for insurance. You still have to pay for maintenance and all of that. And in fact, in all kinds of repairs, you still have to pay. So if you're retired and all of a sudden you have to change the roof, that's $20,000 that you have to pay to replace the roof. Something that not every retiree can do anymore. So that's one thing. The other thing is about the equity. So if you live in a house and it's paid off, that means that you have a huge amount of equity that is sitting there earning basically close to $0. It's not really helping you with your retirement. Wouldn't you want to use that equity to do something with it, to travel more, to do whatever you feel like doing? Instead, you have this equity sitting there and not really, and continue to appreciate, but really it's not doing anything for you today. Another one is about designing your own home. And basically designing your home there's some truth to that. I mean, if you want to buy a property and a house and then you want to change the kitchen, you want to put hardwood floor, you want to put even more money into the house, yeah, there's some truth to that, and you can definitely do that. And and that's fine. If you're talking about if you're living in an apartment, you can still design your house. Yeah, you have to think a little bit differently. I can't tear down the kitchen, but I can certainly change the knob. I can definitely paint and all of that. Eventually, if the kitchen is really that bad, I wouldn't have rented the place, that house in the first place. And if I've lived in the place for so long that the kitchen is now obsolete, then I can just rent another house and say, okay, well, yeah, goodbye. I'll find another house with the kitchen that I want. So far, I'm a very big foodie. I've always had a very, very good kitchen, professional kitchen, And actually, I've always had, since I've rented, I've always had a kitchen that was better than the one I had. And finally, is about, people are always saying, oh, owning your home is a good investment. Well, it is if you're thinking of it as an investment, but most people are not using it as an investment. So if you're really thinking about it and you're calculating it and it's cheaper for you to buy a home and you have a plan for getting the equity out and you calculate the return, yes, it's a good investment. But most people don't think that way. Most people think of it as this is their nest, and then this is they want to live in it for a very, very long time, and then that's it. They're never thinking about doing anything with it, like selling it or doing anything like that. So for that reason, I don't think that people really think of it as a good investment in that point. And because if people were really looking at it from an investment perspective, I'm going to tell you a story of my own experience, which was in 2002. We bought a house in San Francisco Bay Area. And then we lived in it for 16 years. We bought it for $750,000. And we ended up selling it for $2 million in 2018. First reaction, obviously, is say, wow, this is great. You more than doubled your money and all of that. It sounds great, but we also had to put over $300,000 in repairs. We changed the hardwood floor, the 2 bathrooms, the kitchen, and I talked about the tree removal, and then there's a whole repair and maintenance that we had to do also on the property. So when you look at all that, when you calculate the return, and I'm not even including the maintenance and repairs, I'm just looking at just the renovations and the big renovation and all of that over 16 years, that's a 4.5% return on investment. This is okay. It's not a great investment return. My investors, that when they're buying turnkey rentals from me, they're getting 15% cash on cash return on their investment. So they get positive cash flow out. When you have home ownership, you never get money out of that. You're always putting money in. So that house was 1,700 square feet, 4 bedroom and 2 bath. Very big yard. Our mortgage was $3,000, just over $3,000. We still had to pay about $1,000 a month in property taxes. We had to pay probably another maybe another $100,000 in miscellaneous kind of things like just yards and repairs and maintenance and insurance. So we're about $5,000, maybe a little bit over $5,000 in monthly cost just to be in the house, not do any kind of renovations. So let's talk about the advantage of renting. So I live kind of in a subsidized housing, and by that I don't mean that I live in a neighborhood with Section 8 or anything like that. The house I had was 1,700 square foot. The house I currently live in is 3,000 square foot, 4 bedroom, 4 baths. It's in a better location than the house I had. It's in Los Angeles near the beach. I have a beautiful view of the ocean. I have a rooftop deck. It's just wonderful. But I pay more. I pay more in rent than what I paid when I owned the house, which is basically $7,000. This is how much I'm paying per month. But the owner of this property bought the property in 2019. He paid $2 million for the property. That means his mortgage payment is $9,500 a month. He has to pay property taxes. The property tax bill is close to $22,000 a year for this house. So he's basically paying $11,000, let's say, a month for this property. I pay $7,000 a month. I hope he's not listening, but I live in a subsidized house. So what do I do with the money? The money that I would have put as a down payment, the money that I would have put in repairs for the kitchen and bathroom. What did I do with the equity that I have? I invested it in real estate. I'm not saying real estate is bad. I really love real estate. I really love investing. I'm just saying that most of the time, investing in a home is not the best investment. You're not going to get the best return. And I invest in rental properties. So that means that I'm getting money out of my properties every month. I get money deposited in my bank account. I have financial freedom. I don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job. So this is the advantage of that. So elimination of basically property taxes. Well, I don't pay property taxes when I'm renting. I pay property taxes on my rental properties, and they're fully tax deductible. I also reduce significantly my insurance costs. Basically, my insurance cost is about a third of what I'm paying right now. I'm just paying for content, and I don't have to pay for the insurance for the house. So I save a ton of money on insurance. Of course, I pay insurance on my rental properties, but that insurance is tax deductible. Your insurance premium on the home that you own is not tax deductible. But because I'm insuring rental properties, then that is tax deductible. I basically eliminate most of my maintenance costs. So the maintenance is done by the landlord. I call the landlord, the property management company, and they fix the house, whatever needs to be broken. I don't have to worry about that. If you own a home, obviously you have to pay for that. I obviously pay for maintenance, repair and maintenance on my rental properties. The cost of that is 100% tax deductible compared to the repairs and maintenance cost of the home that you own. This is not tax deductible. So big difference here. So when we talk about tax advantages between owning a home and renting, again, I have more tax deduction on the rental properties that I have in renting versus owning a home. And we already talked about stable housing cost. So yes, my rent will probably increase at the end of this lease. Fully expect that, and we'll see where we are. Of course, if you own a home, then you don't have your mortgage payment is going to be pretty stable, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But you have the hidden costs, as we discussed, of the repairs, the repairs and maintenance of the property, and sometimes it comes at always seems to be coming at an inopportune time. The water heater always breaks on the weekend, and you have to pay extra to get that water heater fixed. Well, I hope it was helpful. Basically, my goal with this video is to make sure that you are less emotional about deciding whether to buy a home or rent. For me, my decision was pretty clear, but for you, it might be different. It depends on the market you live in, how much you could pay for a house. But I hope this was helpful, and really make a decision that with numbers and decide for yourself which one is better, to own a home or rent a home. So again, thank you for watching my video. I hope it was helpful and that you've learned something. And make sure that you look at the other videos on my channel, and don't forget to subscribe.